bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Hey, Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Tuesday, August 8th. 219 days into the new year, just 146 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Yeah, man. Tonight, it's Richard bleepin' Dolan. Haha, man. That's right, he's back. He is back. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Lots of stuff happened today out there in the world. Tomorrow night, Corey Good is going to be joining the show. Thursday night is another Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by Open Lines. The call-in numbers are 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Now, you can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do, at JChurchRadio. Go right now. Follow, like, and subscribe. Get her all done. Hey, Twitter is on fire already. Look at Jordan. Jordan with Dolan. Man, that's a good pick, actually. Which one's Dolan? Oh, Dolan's on the right. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that pick. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B. All right. You guys. I love Twitter, man. I do. I just love Twitter. The Sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. Come and hang out with us. The Fade or Not family is just the absolute best. You guys are the best. All right. Chat rooms are open. Email is open, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Any questions or comments during the show tonight is hashtag F2BQ. All right. All right. Allison's already got a question up here, and I don't even know what that is. Wow. That's a good question. I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that for Richard. He's smart. He knows. He knows what the deal is. Okay. Lots to talk about. Crazy news day today. Let me get a few things clarified and done. The Stan Romanek trial ended yesterday, and this morning the jury returned its verdict. Romanek was found guilty on the first count of sexual exploitation of a child. He was found not guilty of the second count of sexual exploitation of children. Sentencing for Romanek is scheduled for 3:30 p.m. on October 19th. He will be free on bond until sentencing. Now, I want to make something very clear to everybody. After I posted all of the news on the Romanek trial yesterday and today, all of the breaking news, we had people in the courtroom that were reporting back to us and providing us with images and up-to-date this and that. Okay, so we reported the news. But the trial is over, and he has been found guilty. And I removed everything from Facebook. at least from my personal Facebook page. I don't want to read it. The trial is over. It is done. What I want to make very clear here, there's about 3 points that need to be mentioned, and then we are moving on. Number one, this is a case about Stan Romanek, and it's not about ufology. Okay? I do not want the two of them to overlap and to be involved with each other, because they are not. Okay? That's point number one. So I just don't want to talk about it anymore. It's his personal thing. If he wins on appeal and, he gets sentenced and then he appeals everything, and then wins on appeal, there may be a conversation in the future about this. But until then, case is closed. I just don't want to discuss it anymore. Point number two, there are people out there that are supporting him. That is fine, and that is to be expected. And there are those out there that feel that he was framed and set up and the evidence was planted. Well, that's fine, but that's not going to be discussed on this show. It's just simply not. Okay? To me, it is a completely depressing and sad situation for everybody involved. And I'm just not going to get dragged down into it. Okay? I did that once before with the Sandusky thing, and it's traumatic. And not only for me, but for you guys. And you just don't want to hear this stuff. I guarantee you don't. Case is closed. If it goes back to appeal and he wins, then there's another discussion. And probably the third point is this. If you really, really, really think about it, there isn't a positive thing or angle to discuss in this case any further. It's not. The case is closed. There is nothing to discuss. Okay? If he would have been found innocent and tampering and planted evidence and was vindicated on that side, then there is a discussion. But right now, there is not. And I just want to make that very clear. Okay? So, I've done it. I've done my duty. I've reported it. It's done. It's over. Okay? I'm not going to get sucked into it. And moving on. Okay? There you go. All right. Subscribe. And now let's get all uppity, because we've got Richard Bleepin' Dolan on the show tonight. So let's get uppity. 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 Subscribe to our podcast. We have over 700 archive shows. Custom apps, Apple, Android, all platforms, just $2 a month. Help support the show. Don't even use it. Just spend the $2 a month. Because we have all the other archives. We have commercial-free stuff. We have the membership area. It's all supporting the show, okay? But if you are a podcaster and you enjoy having the slickest apps and everything available to you and what a podcast gives you, $2 a month. Best deal on the net. Go right now. Click on the podcast banner. And, of course, become an official Fadernaut in our membership section on the site. Get the bunker cam. Hello, everybody on the bunker cam. They're right there. If you want to ask somebody right now, look, is that me, or is that last night, or is that right now? Is that right now? I can't tell with that bunker cam because I'm doing the same thing, the Ronnie James Dio, right? Okay. You get the bunker cam. You get free downloadable, our commercial-free archives. You get the Game Changer with T-shirts and autograph hats and all kinds of cool stuff. So become a member. Become a Fadernaut today in our membership area. Don't forget to check out all of our sponsors, Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, Rivermoon Coffee, New Pharma, Chip. Chip Paul was on with us last night. Great conversation. Ancient Life Oil, and, of course, Studio Dome speakers. The new promo code for Life Change Tea is Fader, Fader. Okay? All right. Thank you for doing that, Bob. You are the best. That's why Bob gets a thank you after every show. All right. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, The Edge. is 56. I wonder if his driver's license says Dave Evans or The Edge. Who is Dave Evans? Ha ha ha. Dustin Hoffman today is 80. On this day in history, OTD, it went down. This is why right now, what I'm about to whip out on you, the OTD today is why you come to this show. I bet you Richard bleepin' Dolan knows this fact. 1988, gangsta rap hits the mainstream with the release of NWA's Straight Outta Compton. Man, that's a good album. Fader fact. Fader fact. You would have to click a mouse 10 million times to burn a single calorie. That is a fader fact. All right, tonight, very special guest Richard Bleepin' Dolan is here. We've got so many things to discuss tonight with Richard. So just get ready for that. We're going to go into all of the zones that you are anticipating. Well, at least he doesn't know that yet. He said to me, "Go ahead, Church. Lead the way, my man." So that's what I'm going to do. All right. Tomorrow night, Corey Good is going to be here. And Thursday is another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by Open Lines. The call-in numbers are 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Now, I set my alarms this morning. There was a lot of things going down. So I got up for the news today, and the news went crazy. And now I know that I don't, how do I say this? I don't get involved in the news, right? I just don't get involved. But because most of it is propaganda. But I've been talking over the last few weeks about this rhetoric and this heating up of things around the world. And I'm talking about our relationships with Russia, okay, Germany, China, North Korea, Venezuela, and a few other, of course, there's Syria and Iraq and Iran and everything that all at the same time. Of course, we can throw Israel in. It's always there. All at the same time, this craziness, right, just flared up. And now you have to stop and ask yourself. I go and as I read, and I get my news selectively by reading and going to different news sources. And when you see Reuters in there, you know my take on this. But it's happening, and it's crazy, right? Well, today, early on, the news cycle started with an intelligence report from the DIA where U.S. intelligence analysts have assessed that North Korea has produced a miniaturized nuclear warhead. And now, this was from a variety of sources. Okay, it came out. I'm going to talk about this. It came out of different countries. It came from different, all at the same time. Now, all of the reports over the last 2 years, talking about, in 3 years, 4 years, with all the nuclear tests that have been coming out of North Korea, that they're 10 years away. They're 15 years away. No big deal. No big deal. Let them tell you, these are just wires hanging off these rudimentary devices, and they're too big to put on a missile. That'll never, you can't do blah, blah, blah. Right? Okay. Well, then these ICBMs allegedly get launched, 2 of them back to back. And now the talk was, sometime next year it's possible, right? And then today we get this announcement. And it got so dark today with this announcement that there were even reports that they had up to 60 nuclear bombs built. Now, with the sanctions that went down on North Korea over the weekend, where their national GNP, their intake is $3 billion in trade, and we're going to sanction them for a third of it, $1 billion. Okay, all right. That sounds pretty harsh. Where are they getting the money to develop and sustain not only that army, but this kind of weapons development? I ask you, how is this possible that a little teeny tiny country like that can be doing this? And now it appears that they have a miniaturized nuclear weapon, and they've got the missiles now to put these on too. After the report was released, President Donald Trump turns around and issued an extraordinary, inflammatory, insane ultimatum to North Korea, did that earlier today, warning Pyongyang not to make any more threats against the United States, or they will, and I'm quoting here, face fire and fury like the world has never seen, end quote. I'm like, holy crap, whoa, slow down, really? So I pulled the entire quote. I watched this photo op that he did today. I watched it like 10 times just to make sure I'm not misunderstanding. And here's the full quote. Quote, North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. He has been very threatening beyond a normal state. They will be met with fire, fury, and frankly, power the likes of which this world has never seen before. End quote. Okay, now it's starting to get out of control, right? And that was all by noon. So anyway, the U.S. official familiar with the analysis of North Korea's missile and nuclear program says, in reference to North Korea's leader, Kim Fatty Fat, and his boast about the program, I'm quoting here, we have to take him at his word, and we need to be prepared to deal with it, end quote. This official said the assessment is continuing, and it will be refined and updated as more intelligence is collected. Okay, well, it gets worse. The officials all note that the evidence shows North Korea is making progress, and the question is more about when, if not North Korea, is capable of launching a nuclear-capable missile. The assessment was reported just hours after North Korea threatened physical action in response to punitive sanctions unanimously passed by the United Nations Security Council over the weekend. So, minutes after that threat from Trump, North Korea turns around and said that it is seriously considering a plan to fire missiles at Guam. Now, let's be clear here. Trump just said, you threaten us again, fire and fury is coming your way. And they turn around and do just that. Ji-Sung Lim, a ballistic missile operation unit for the far north of Korea, will review a plan to fire a mid-range ballistic missile at U.S. island territory Guam on September 9th. We've got a specific date. Today is August 8th. In a statement released by state-run media, the Korean People's Army is reportedly looking into striking Guam to subdue the United States military bases on the U.S. territory, particularly the Andersen Air Force Base, where nuclear-capable bombers are stationed. A second statement, not one, but two, released after that, said North Korea, and I'm quoting here, could carry out a preemptive operations if the United States showed signs of provocation, end quote. Now, to be clear, this was after Trump's warning to North Korea earlier today. Specifically, The statement mentioned a potential strike on, and I'm quoting here directly from the statement, Anderson Air Force Base, in which the U.S. strategic bombers, which get on the nerves of the DPRK and threaten and blackmail it through their frequent visits to the sky above South Korea. And that's where they are stationed, and to send a serious warning signal to the United States. End quote. Kim Fatty Fat. As of showtime tonight, North Korea and Kim Fatty Fat have managed to keep their mouths shut for the last 3 hours. But I have this strange gut feeling that we are now at a point that we have to start believing what these two men are saying. And I'm talking about Trump and Kim Fatty Fat. Both have crossed the line. They have. Clearly, they have. I respect Trump's position. And the reason why I say that is the United States has allowed this thing to stay out of control for administration after administration after administration. Thinking that China was going to keep them in check, thinking that Russia was going to keep them in check. And quite honestly, that's what we were all hoping, right? And they weren't big enough. They didn't have the money. They didn't have this, the backwards army. I realize their Air Force doesn't have anything. They got like 20 or 30 MiG-29s, and that's it. Everything else, they've got MiG-15s and 17s and 19s, most of which aren't even flying. And I get that. They even have a couple of biplanes, and I'm not kidding about that. So it's not that. They do have fixed artillery. Seoul, Korea is 30 miles away from the DMZ. I'm talking about artillery shells. Missiles, yes, but I'm talking about artillery shells will rain down on Seoul. And I'm not so sure how this thing is supposed to be planned out. We have 28,000 troops, United States troops stationed in the DMZ, not a few 100,000, right across that fence. They've got a 1 million-man army ready to go, itching. It's a scary, scary situation. But they have both crossed the line. And for Trump to finally just stand up and go, look, okay, enough is enough. No more threats. I'm going to start taking you serious. Now you have a miniaturized weapon, a nuclear weapon, and you're saying this. I've got to draw the line here. Well, he has, and so has Kim Fatty Fat. And when you puff your chest out like that too many times, somebody, one or the other, is going to take you at your word and react. You just poke them in the chest. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, United States. Come on. Come on. We're going to bomb you. We're going to bomb you. We're going to bomb. And you get poked in the chest enough, what do you expect to happen? And it's also the other way around. We're poking them in the chest. Poking, right? And here we go. I'm getting a little nervous here. Yesterday, Japan issued its own assessment of North Korea's nuclear capability. Yes, a defense white paper commissioned by the Japanese government went as far as saying that Pyongyang was capable of miniaturizing a nuclear warhead. That was yesterday. Today, our DIA did it. The white paper stated that North Korea had reached a new stage in its weapons program following successful tests of its intercontinental ballistic missiles in recent weeks. Quoting here from the white paper, it says, "It is conceivable that North Korea's nuclear weapons program has already considerably advanced, and it's possible that North Korea has already achieved the miniaturization of nuclear bombs onto warheads and has acquired nuclear warheads." Russia has been skeptical about North Korea's nuclear arms capability. For me, they are the bright spot in the room, like the voice of reason, but I don't know what to believe or to trust here. Russia's foreign deputy minister, Sergei Ryabkov, says that Pyongyang is years and years away from a moment it can weaponize a nuclear warhead. And for me, I'm like wiping my brow, right? But we've been hearing this over and over again. We have, and it's been our little ray of hope because we don't want a war. that could flare up and turn into something seriously, seriously nasty and nuclear. And we don't want that. We don't want that anywhere on this planet for anybody. So what is really going on here? Can it possibly chill out? I don't know. I really don't know. And like I said, at some point here, we have to take somebody at their word. Somebody is going to take somebody at their word. And whether it's Trump or Kim Fatty Fat or somebody else, or it's just something is about to get really stupid. The reason why I'm even speaking about this now, and I'm not a fear porn person. I am not, and you know this. But the look on Trump's face today when he said those words, he meant it. He scared me. I don't believe anything that comes out of Trump's mouth until today. I had to just step back, re-listen, write it down, transcribe, and digest what he said. I mean, he practically had spit coming out of his mouth. He was, man. So there you go. All right. Tonight, Richard Bleepin' Dolan is here. Yes, we are going to discuss false flags. Yes, we're going to discuss ufology. Yes, we're going to discuss breakaway civilizations. We're going to discuss unity in the community. We're going to discuss a lot of different things tonight. We'll probably do it Dolan style and kick off with a little music like we always do. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Richard Dolan. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Don't be scared, everybody. Don't be scared. Things always have a way of working themselves out. But it was crazy. It was crazy. I'll be right back with Richard Dolan. Stay there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Again, GetTheT.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at KGRAradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Matthew, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. On the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Richard Bleepin' Dolan. That's right. He's among the world's leading UFO historians. He has written many classics for the field, including UFOs in the National Security State, AD After Disclosure, and UFOs for the 21st Century Mind, as well as ongoing booklets for his Richard Dolan Lecture Series. He has lectured all around the world. He's appeared widely on television, including, of course, Ancient Aliens and with yours truly on Hangar 1. Currently, he is the writer and host of the series False Flags, which appears on Gaia TV, and he is also writing a book on the same subject. We'll ask about that. And he also hosts 2 radio shows, of course, the Richard Dolan Show on KGRA and the Effed Files. I think I'm going to have to ask him if he's on hiatus with that. And, of course, he is the publisher of Richard Dolan Press, which features the work of many leading thinkers and exploring alternative realities in our world today. His website is richarddolanpress.com, and I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, fellow Fadernaut, Richard Bleepin' Dolan. Richard, good evening.
Hi, Jimmy. Thanks for having me on.
How are you, man?
I'm doing just great. Doing very well these days.
Man, your radio pipes, man, are excelling.
Really?
Yeah, dude. I'm intimidated. Wow. Well done. Well played.
Thank you.
Well
played. I lowered my voice for that a little bit.
All right.
I'm not in your league as far as radio goes, but I do my best.
Oh, you're doing just fine. Hey, okay, look, let's just keep the tradition going. Right now, what was the last song you listened to today?
Well, I have a good one for you. Fatboy Slim, Praise You.
No, what? See, that's what.
But you have to let me. I have to follow up with that.
Was it in the shower?
The only reason that I heard that song last, and I mean, I'm a fan of Fatboy Slim, so that's not a big surprise, maybe, but it's in order. It was given to me by my fiancée Tracy, who knew that you were going to ask me this question, and furthermore, knowing what would have been the last song I would have had to tell you honestly was a song that I myself sang, which was the theme song to the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Oh, dude,
in its completion, word for word, which happily I can say I remembered. That would have had to be the last one. So I get to say Fatboy Slim, Praise You, a little more higher on the cool scale than the Mary Tyler Moore theme song. But hey, everyone loves the Mary Tyler Moore theme song well.
You could have said you sung the Pixies version of the Mary Tyler Moore theme song.
Yeah, but I didn't, actually, sadly. I sang the original.
Oh, man. All right. Okay. Now, I'm very impressed. And the question is, and then we'll move on, did you dance to Fatboy Slim?
Not on this particular occasion.
Okay. All right. Okay. I just wanted the visual.
Crazy. Head that may count. I don't think so. Not as far as I want.
Okay. Now we need to put our serious faces on. Okay. All right. I got tears in my eyes, man. That was funny. That was good. Crazy news today, Richard. And I know that a lot of the audience right now is expecting me to go in one direction and possibly another direction. They're chomping at the bit. We'll do that at the top of the hour. But the crazy news today, when we're dealing with false flags and your favorite subject at the moment, today, do you feel like there's a false flag in our future with North Korea?
Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes.
I know, right?
So what's happening with North Korea is that, when people are hearing news about North Korea, and actually I've been out of the news pretty much most of the day. I've been working on other projects that don't involve the news, but I've been following North Korea for sure. And what you can really see happening is that the United States is itching for regime change, and they're itching for North Korea and Iran. They would love to regime change Russia. That's really not going to happen in the immediate future, but they would love that. But they can foresee these are crazy people running U.S. policy. They're no more sane now than they were a couple of years ago under Obama or under Bush. They're at the same level of crazy, maybe even higher level of crazy in some ways. They believe that they're going to regime change North Korea, and they're following all of the types of pretexts that the United States has done since forever. So this is nothing new. The whole concept of kind of a fake revolution, you create pretexts for switching out governments you don't like. And what they'll do is they're going to convince the American public, they're already convincing the American public, that North Korea really will have a nuke, and they're going to use it to hit California or the United States. Not going to happen. I'm just mark my words. I'm telling you that will not happen because they actually don't have that capability. This has been hyped so incredibly out of proportion that the nation it has, among many other things, we've lost our sanity now over North Korea. We lost our sanity over Russia, continue to lose it over that. They're now losing it over North Korea. They'll lose it over Iran as well. North Korea is not going to launch nukes at all, ever, against the United States unless they are deeply provoked to do so. And what Americans don't realize, and of course, do I even need to say that I'm not here to defend the regime of North Korea, but the United States has been constantly, incessantly provoking the North Koreans by having military exercises right at their border. And they do this all the time. The North Koreans are obsessed about it. And if the U.S. really wants to ratchet things down, they would change their behavior in Northeast Asia. But they can't do it. They won't ever do it. And it's kind of ridiculous, frankly, that President Trump is expecting China somehow to participate in this. Can you imagine if China allows North Korea to go through a regime change? Now the U.S. troops go right up to the Chinese border.
Right.
The Chinese aren't stupid. They're not going to just let that sort of thing happen. And it seems like no one in the White House is aware of this basic fact. So, but I do foresee. I mean, they're just.
I know.
Because what they are, they're ideologues, and it's not unique to the Trump White House, by the way. They were every bit as much ideologically driven under the Obama White House, and they would have been every bit as ideologically driven under a Hillary Clinton White House. But it happens to be Trump, and this is just further proof, as the French would say, le plus la même, le plus le plus le change, le plus la même chose. See how bad my French is. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And there's no difference in U.S. policy with President Trump as it was from Obama. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same belligerence, the same warmongering, and misrepresentation of other countries. U.S. did it to Libya when they destroyed that nation under Obama, and now Trump is probably hoping he can destroy North Korea.
The entire false narrative of WMDs is like this crazy deja vu flashback, right? And we're having that right now with the announcement of miniaturization of nuclear warheads that can now be put on the tips of missiles.
I'm very glad you're mentioning this. You know, back in 2003, the United States has several unforgivable crimes that have been committed during our lifetime. And maybe the day will come when Americans collectively start to understand this. All right. So one of those unforgivable crimes was Iraq in 2003, when the United States government at that time under George W. Bush, with people like Donald Rumsfeld and Condoleezza Rice and Dick Cheney, knowingly lied about the so-called weapons of mass destruction, the WMDs. Condoleezza Rice and I think it was Cheney or Rumsfeld used the imagery of a nuclear mushroom cloud over the United States, and that's how we would find out that Saddam had nukes, is that there would be a mushroom cloud. Yeah, good one. What they ended up doing was terrifying the American public and getting them to believe that this was in fact the case, when everyone knew. I knew at the time that there were no weapons of mass destruction, and I knew because I followed the subject back in 2003. I watched Colin Powell lie to the world at the United Nations in February 2003. About this whole thing. And so and the result, of course, is the destruction of an entire nation. Iraq was destroyed, and it is destroyed to this day. Iraq is a wreck. The United States under Obama, because this is a bipartisan bloodlust, did it to Libya. And man, did they do it to Libya. And again, Americans don't really understand what they as a nation have done to what was then the wealthiest, most prosperous nation in Africa, a nation that had free health care, that had free housing for the homeless, where women could wear what they want, where women and men could easily go to universities, and they did, where there was more local democracy than exists in the United States, and that's the truth. Right? They had a strong man at the top, but he ran that country so that everyone was prosperous. And it just happened to be outside of the IMF-dominated Western U.S. banking system. And if you doubt this, read the WikiLeaks emails, in which Hillary Clinton's emails have the truth right there. There was a whole conversation about Sarkozy of France and the French desire to get the Libyan gold as one of the key motivations. Of course, the United States had the same desire.
Yep,
controlling the oil and the gold and getting Libya under Western control, and they just wrecked it under false pretenses.
You know,
lies.
And I'll tell you the really strange thing that most people don't realize about Libya is they were asked to give up their nuclear ambitions, and they put everything on a boat and shipped it out of Libya.
Did that.
Right?
They foolishly did that, and go back to North Korea now. All right, so the Libyans. I guarantee you, everyone who's got a brain in their head looking at this geopolitically realizes, if Libya had kept developing nukes, this probably would not have happened, and they're probably right. North Korea, they may be immoral, they may be bloody-minded, but they're not that stupid like people like to portray them. All right, so they understand full well the nukes are the only thing that is keeping that regime in power. And I agree that it is a shame and unfortunate and a crime that regime is in power. But, Americans like to convince themselves that they have this ability to switch out every bad government in the world. Well, if they've got that ability, maybe they should do something about their own.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about the entire system.
That's right.
That is a place that exists for an oligarchy.
Well, when people bring up, false flags, and they want to bring up something like, Sandy Hook, which I don't agree with, by the way, but when we are talking about, a true country-on-country false flag, this is going to play out just like it did in 2003. It's the same playbook, Richard. It is the exact same setup, and we're watching it play out. Unverifiable. Yeah. You can create a kind of typology of it. In fact, I've been working on this for my own book on false flags, and I actually I know I included a number of these types of ideas for the show that I wrote and have hosted for Gaia TV, which is called False Flags. And in fact, if I may, I would encourage people, if they are interested in checking that series out. It is a unique series.
This I can say very confidently. There's nothing like this that's been done anywhere. I spent the time really to research the history of false flags as they developed as a phenomenon. False flags aren't ancient, but they do go back at least a good century, and there's a couple of older ones. But they're actually specifically modern. This is one of the main things I like to say about them. And
what's the format of the show? Do you have guests, or is it you?
No, it's just me doing my thing.
Right.
I wrote it.
Right.
In fact, this is another unique thing about Gaia. I'm not aware of anyone else doing this, and I'm not taking away from what anyone else does, but I didn't want to do a kind of sit-down format interview show. I had a concept in my mind. I had an arc. I had a vision of what I wanted to create, and I wrote it out. I scripted it out, and I did it in front of the camera. Now, if I were ever to continue anything with Gaia in the future, I might want to do a sit-down interview type of a format, because I can tell you writing it out is a lot of work.
That's a lot of work, man. That's a lot of stress.
I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
It was good for me, though, because it actually also jump-started, really made me move farther along in my book on false flags, which I've been wanting to write for the longest time. So I've got a couple of hundred pages now written, and I'm happy about that. But in terms of the false flags, if someone is interested in checking that out on Gaia, I would encourage them, actually. They could help me out. If they wanted to join Gaia, I would say do it through the link on my website. I would be very grateful for that. It is good for me, and it helps me promote myself on the Gaia network. You just go to my website at Richard Dolan Press. There's a link right at the very top there, just on the Gaia show. You click it, and if you want to sign up, go for it.
You know, that's yeah. I'm gonna get this up on Twitter right now for you. The reason why I don't like fear porn, you know, I don't. But the one thing that I try to make everybody aware of, because I'm so interested in this, and the more that I see days turn into weeks and time passes, the more that it is true, which is there is an agenda that is going on. We have the dialogue that is presented to us and the dogma from mass media, which is completely untrue. And the agenda of the world is right in front of you. And if you don't trust my words, just observe what is going on in front of you right now. And it is playing out right now with North Korea. And I can't.
I agree with you.
It scares the crap out of me, Richard. And
it's not about doing fear porn. You know, I don't want to. I mean, I guess I know what fear porn means. It's you know, scaring people in a sense, to excite them in a way, and to get them to come back, like clickbait type stuff. I'm not interested in that in the least. It's interesting, you know, that I'm doing this show on Gaia. Anyone who's watched Gaia or follows it knows Gaia's. I mean, they started out like basically doing yoga.
Yeah.
And they're into consciousness and transformation. And suddenly they bring on Richard Dolan, and he's talking about false flags, for God's sake. So they've had to make a little bit of an adjustment in having me on. And I think they've done an admirable job, if I may say, in bringing me and allowing me to do what I like to do. And it's not in frightening people. I am never about that. But what I am about is, look, if there are bad things happening around you, and there always are, all right, we can do one of two things. We can pretend that they don't exist, and we can you know, create a circle of light and protect ourselves and visualize positive change, which I don't think is going to be very effective, to be honest with you. What I think is going to be a little bit more effective is recognizing what the problem is and then dealing with it. I liken it to having this wonderful dream. You know, you're on the beach drinking margaritas, someone's rubbing your feet. It's a great dream, but meanwhile your house is burning down.
Right.
So what's a better solution? Keep dreaming, or wake up and deal with the fire?
Throw your margarita on the fire.
Deal with it. So I want to, in doing the research that I do, whether it's with UFOs or false flags, I want to be about helping people wake up and letting them realize that by waking up, you're actually gaining power, you're gaining strength, because it's only through truth, right, that we're actually going to be able to deal with the problems around us. And it's not always easy. I remember a statement from the late John Mack. I'll never forget this. It was in one of his books. He said, look, gaining higher awareness basically means stripping illusions away from us. And none of us can do that without a certain amount of pain, because we're all born into illusions. Every one of us. Illusions about our world, illusions about ourselves, illusions about our reality. And it's only by the painful process of recognizing those illusions that we engage in personal growth. But so there's a little bit of pain that goes along with that, but then the end result is that we grow and we become stronger and we become more able to do good in the world because we're more knowledgeable and we're not filling our head with fantasies, but we're filling our head with truth. That's the only way to make ourselves better. It is the only way to make our world better.
And the concept that I'm trying to avoid is this. I don't want to be labeled as some new conscious 1970s pyramid power, positive is the only way of life thing, because that is not the real world. I don't want to be labeled as that.
It's also not healthy. It's unhealthy.
It is. It is complete. But yet, I try to live that way. That's the other problem, right?
Well, I mean, in a way, I get it, because I've said this many times. And I'm very proud to say this. When I was 15 years old, I bought the very first book by Wayne Dyer, Your Erroneous Zones.
Right.
I was 15.
Right.
I was at a bookstore. And, it's classic pop psychology. Anyone who knows Wayne Dyer, who's no longer with us, but I gladly tell anyone that book had a very positive influence on my life, and it still does. I learned a very important lesson from that book, which is maybe related to what you just said. And the idea is, he said, look over your shoulder. That's your death. You're going to die one day. He said, this is your life right now, and you have a choice. You can live your life in a healthy and positive way, or you can live it in an unhealthy, unpositive way or negative way. And he said, the first thing you need to do is you have to take responsibility for your thoughts, which means don't go blame your mom and your dad for how lousy things are for you. That's giving away your power and your responsibility. He says, you right now have the ability, it is within you, to make a decision. What kind of person am I going to be? And it had a huge influence on me. And so I really believe strongly in telling myself healthy, positive things. But that's a little different than the kinds of manifestation affirmations that I think some people like to do, because my take on this, and I'll make some friends and enemies by saying this, but I think that when people say, I want to manifest such and such a thing, I don't think they know what they're talking about at all.
Right.
I think that the only way you're going to manifest anything is by planning it and doing it. That's how you manifest. And so you create that vision in your mind. Yes, you do. But it's not going to happen by itself.
You still have to work.
Lazy thinking.
Right.
You know this. You went through the whole process of creating your show.
Yes.
And you know every bit of how much hard work that was, and planning and obstacles and disappointments, and then overcoming all those obstacles. I mean, it never stops. And it's the same with the projects that I've been doing. So it only happens through you tell yourself, where do I want to be in 5 years? What do I want to be doing? What do I want to do in 1 year? Okay, good. That's what I want to do. How am I going to get there? And we have to think it through. So on that sense, I believe in manifesting, sure, but it's only through creating a vision, planning it out, and then working. So I feel that the New Age philosophy that some people have has been very harmful and destructive, not simply to society at large, because it really is very improper, imprecise thinking. It's loose thinking. But it's also, I think, harmful mentally to a lot of the people who engage in it.
Yeah, you have to implement. You have to implement. You can't just, the idea of, you can change your own reality with your mind, and you just close your eyes and click your heels 3 times, and and meditate every day.
We do change our reality with our minds, but only in conjunction with our actions.
Right.
You've got to think it, then you got to do it. That's the other part.
I remember, and then when we come back after the break, I want to talk about UniWiki, our new little project here. I want to introduce this to everybody, and so you get the honor of, being on the show that we do this. This is a big worldwide announcement. We're going to do that after the break, but. Going back to 1991, 1992, when I was going through this transformation and, really, really wanting to do things and change my reality and was working really hard and on my mind. And then meanwhile, LA's burning down. We've got riots. We've got crack being sold outside of my front door. I got bodies in the street, literally, not figuratively, literally. Craziness of this madness, evil world. And I was like, man, I can want this all that I, desire, but it ain't changing what's going on out there on the streets. The reality is out there. And that's where it's harmful. You know what I mean? That's where it's self-destructive. You actually have to physically go out and make a difference, not only for yourself but for the world. And then
I have some follow-ups on that, but I know you want to go to a break soon.
Yeah, we got to do that right now. So let's go ahead and do that. And our guest tonight, the one and only Richard Bleepin' Dolan. I will never say what I really want to say. Everything's on the table. When we come back, we're going to talk about uniwiki.org, our new project. I'm going to click tweet here in just a second. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Richard Dolan, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. We'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, I'm Katie Lee, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hard shell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing.
It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Richard Leapin' Dolan. That's right. Now, we were just discussing right before the show. You can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Richard Dolan at Rich Dolan. What's up with that, Richard? Was Richard Dolan already taken on Twitter?
I don't know. Why is it? I used to go by Rich in earlier years before I went as Richard Dolan. I know now I can't even think of any other name. Right. It's just like this is what I am. I'm Richard Dolan, but I did Rich, I think _Dolan at Twitter. And then I thought to change it, it's like, how do you change your Twitter handle without disrupting all of it, right? It's just like
you're stuck.
I don't know how to do that, so I'm kind of. So I have old friends who call me Rich. I have friends I grew up with who call me Richie. If you ever grew up in New York, at least when I did, every boy's name was either Joey, Bobby, Tony, Richie.
Right.
If I had said, call me Richard, they would have been like, oh, you think you're better than us? What's wrong with you? So
yeah, I get it.
You know,
I do. I get it.
But anyway, so I went through different versions of my name, but all through my my 20s and 30s, many of my friends called me Rich.
Yeah, I was always Jim growing up, and of course, or James when I was in trouble. And then when I came out to L.A., I was going to be a guitar player. I was going to be that guy.
Oh, right.
So changed my name to Jimmy, and everybody that I met in L.A., it was so hard for me to say, right? So what's your name? Jimmy Church. And that, the new persona, right? I just changed clothes.
No, exactly.
Man.
And that's what you are. You are Jimmy Church. You're nothing else. You can't be Jim Church. Are you kidding me?
No. And when I hear
Church,
right, when I hear Jim Church, it's somebody from high school for sure.
No, exactly.
So
I enjoy it. Like I wanted to walk away from that type of identification for a while, like my earlier names. I thought, it's who I am. Those people know me for that, and that's good.
So we were talking before the break about, actually doing the work. I mean, if you're going to manifest, that's great, but then roll up your sleeves and get it done. Nobody's going to do it for you, right?
Exactly.
And so, and in doing that, living up to that way of thinking, that mindset, we have launched the Game Changer Network. Richard, was always about getting our community to who we thought as game changers, right? And that was what we were going to build upon and do it. And so we have gotten a few different groups together, and one of them is this next launch that we have launched tonight. It's called UniWiki. I've talked to you about this a couple of times and introduced you to it before the show. But and you got it out of the gate. It was really funny when you and I were talking. You were like, "It's not going to be like that other," right? and exactly. And what?
Well, there's a variety of little wiki sites. There's like miniature wiki sites. I mean, there's obviously Wikipedia, but there are other kinds of wikis. The one I was thinking of was a skeptical wiki site that really goes out of its way to just trash talk against the kinds of things that we do.
And this is about unifying not only the community, but gathering all of our information in a positive way and getting it all centralized and together with the correct contributors and not go negative. This is the positive side of it, and unifying all of the knowledge, because the knowledge is out there. The community is out there. We need a central depository of all of this knowledge. And that's what UniWiki is all about. And in a very positive sense, that is our manifesto. And now it's a great thing to talk about, but it's another thing to deliver the package. Well, we have delivered it.
That's right.
Yep. The software
Well,
is done.
I'm looking at the page. I've got it right here in front of me, uniwiki.org.
Yep.
And it's just started, so I don't think anyone should expect to find articles in here yet, but it's there.
The engine is built. The stuff that is going on.
Is it kind of an open source
Yes.
project so that like people can go in and
You have to register and get accepted.
Okay.
And
now, are you running this? Is this your?
It's
you the guy running?
No. Well, yes, actually, because it's a community. So yes, is the short answer. John Lund and his software team wrote the engine. The concept is a community concept. It's John's vision. He obviously there needs to be somebody at the top of the software chain to build this monster of a platform. But everything is done. It's done. So when we are talking about unifying and positivity and taking steps forward and doing that, well, you have to actually do it and implement it.
This is a really good idea. I'm going to say this. It's a hard thing to do, and I'm looking ahead at this project, and I see how much work it will involve. But it will be easier if you have a lot of other contributors. And actually, what you're proposing is not radically different than what Wikipedia does or what the other wiki sites do. I mean, they all have moderators, right? Wikipedia is notorious for censoring out alternative information, so they or minimizing it or dismissing it in one way or another. I mean, they're very agenda driven, so they've got a very definite editorial stance. So there's nothing wrong actually with UniWiki having an editorial policy as well, and I in fact I'd encourage you to do it. As far as having people registering, I assume, am I right in thinking they can just from around the world, and
that's right,
they can have at it.
Yep. And
but you've got moderators policing it. I'm assuming
you have to, because we want this. That's right. And we want it to be a positive thing where, see, this has always been
positive is a loaded word. So
positive is a loaded word.
Now, what does positive mean?
It means this.
Context?
It means this, that we need. If you can't talk here, Richard, you can't talk anywhere. If you feel like you are being repressed, or if you think you are being censored in any way, and you have ideas, or if you have something that you want to contribute, you won't, because the fear of ridicule or attack or anything like that. And that type of censorship cannot be allowed in our community. It just cannot. It's like a barbershop, right? You go in and you are able to sit down and let it all hang out. And here, if we're going to unify this community, you have to feel comfortable. You have to be able to say what it is that you've experienced or that you want to explore, or if you have questions. You don't want to feel like somebody is going to attack you or do a character assassination. And that
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
The word unity has always rubbed me the wrong way. I'll just tell you. I mean, I'm not a believer in unity. Never have been. I don't think that unity is what I strive for. I mean, after all, I only get better when people disagree with me and they point out where I make mistakes. So I expect. I mean, I'm serious, and it's what I believe in. But this doesn't go against what you're trying to do, actually. So I don't want to nitpick. But what I believe that what we want to be about as a community, we are a community. Let's just. But I would say it's for me. It's not about unity, except insofar as we can all recognize we're in this together. But we're all going to have different ideas. I mean, it's impossible to expect thousands and millions of people to have the same ideas about something as important as the kinds of things that we like to talk about. It's just not going to happen. So I don't expect agreement. If by unity we're meaning agreement, then I I would think that's never going to happen. But if by unity we mean a sense of community, like what you're saying, where people aren't being ridiculed for expressing an interest in this, and yes, absolutely, we want to do that. And we do that, by the way, by engaging in when we have disagreements, as has been going on in ufology, particularly for the last year, but even since forever, that we have those disagreements by modeling proper behavior. It's very important that we do this, that we engage in civil discourse, that we do not engage in character assassination. Analyzing people's motivations is fair game, but if you do that, you've got to have something that you're going to be working off of. I mean, we have to be evidence-based. So,
which is always which is always the goal. It's always about the evidence, whether it's the court system or any reporting or any investigation. That's it. Always comes down to that. Do you remember UFOmind.com? Do you remember that website?
I do, yes, absolutely. Okay. From the early 90s.
The early 90s. One of the most, it was the reason to even have the internet back then, right? That was
This is exactly true. Do you realize that UFOs were the first non-techie subject of the internet?
That's right.
Like, in other words, the earliest internet of the 1980s was all like computer programming and C++ and like, who cares? But like the first actual subject on those old bulletin boards from the 1980s, the first independent subject entered in January 1986, and it was, I think that was Alt-Paranet UFO.
Yeah,
it was
Paranet. Paranet.
Yeah, it was Jim Spicer.
Yep.
Was the guy who created it. And that started. That was like the birth. That was 31 years ago.
The first
UFOs
thing,
led the way.
The first thing I remember when I get my first laptop and I get home and I plug it in, I'm signing on to I forget what I was signing on to with a credit card, right, to sign on to the net. The very first thing, it was AOL. It was AOL 1.0. It was before Mozilla, before all of that stuff.
Right.
So I signed, and the first thing I searched wasn't porn. It was UFO pictures. That was the first thing that I punched
might have been
in.
For me too, actually.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't get graphic user interface until late 90s, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And back in 97, by the way, I got an AOL account too. Like, everyone in the United States got an AOL account that year, I think, because they sent out all of those discs, remember?
I had 20 of those discs at any time. They popped in the mail.
I got that was my first graphic internet, I think, and I immediately went for UFO data, UFO pictures, stuff like that.
And so UFO Mind, that website was also a really cool, positive aspect of a depository of everything UFO. I don't know how that was maintained back then, because it was all links and that was manual labor. There wasn't any automation and website design and all of that. Man, that was a labor of love, and it was.
I have a lot of that printed out. I think
I did too.
It's an amazing resource. You're totally right. Back in the late 90s, when I was pulling down everything that existed on the web and the internet on UFOs, I printed like complete. I mean, like what were then websites of really interesting UFO places to go. And I think I may have UFO Mind in a binder on one of my shelves.
Man, I remember I spent we'll move on, but I spent probably 6 months of every waking free moment out of every day that I had, 7 days a week, of reading every link, everything. And so at the end of 6 months, I get to the last link at UFO Mind, right? The last one. I'm like, do I want to do this? Do I want this to end today? This is it. It's over. But and that's what that aspect of uniwiki.org needs to be. It needs to be that positive driving force where everybody goes first, whatever it is. They want to investigate what disclosure is. Well, you're not going to get a true body of evidence of disclosure on Wikipedia. You know, you're not going to get it anywhere on the net. It's too. We need to get all of that.
This is a good idea because there's a lot of enthusiastic, energetic, smart people out there who are looking for a project like this.
Oh yeah,
and I think you really have the ability. And they've been locked out of Wikipedia, which that's all that Wikipedia does. They're so highly controlled, and in bed with the intelligence community as well. Let's just state the obvious.
Right.
But what you can do is provide an outlet for an enormous amount of public around the world. So your job and your moderators will be to police that, I assume, and make sure that it's at the standard that you want.
It's going to be amazing, and the only way to initiate change is to roll up the sleeves. That's it, and I'm glad you stated it like you did. All right, let's move on. Everybody, just go check out uniwiki.org. Over the next weeks, months, and years, it is going to be a real game changer, and it's going to be awesome. Now, okay, MUFON Symposium. All right.
Oh gosh, yes.
Okay. Now, I hope that I'm catching you a little bit off guard, but you know that there are quite a number of people listening right now wondering if we're going to go there. I will, Richard. I will go there.
We should. We're doing this. It's the obvious thing hanging over everything in ufology these days.
So how do you – okay, let's start with the top and then we'll work down. How do you think it went versus the expectations?
A couple of different ways to put that. So the attendance was very good. The attendance was good because it had a tremendous amount of promotion of some, I will say, very sensationalistic stories that were very unlike MUFON to do. So MUFON, which of course has always striven to promote what they call scientific ufology, in the past would never bring on, just mention the guests, so Corey Good, obviously, Andrew Basiago, William Tompkins, and researcher Michael Salla. And, I mean, it just wouldn't have happened in the past. Perhaps Michael, but certainly not the other three. And then to bring me on, and I guess this is where I become part of the story, I was asked also to speak about the secret space program. This was an explicit request that I was asked by Jan Harzan back in, I think, January of this year when he asked me to speak there. And I said, well, I've done a number of lectures on that theme, and I'm kind of done with it right now. I'm moving on to other things. And he really asked me insistently, and I said I would do it. I would try to do something original and unique, which I did for the most part. I did added a lot of new information. But then it was only months later that I realized I learned. In fact, Tracy pointed this out to me. She said, do you realize you're going to be on a panel with these four individuals, a secret space panel? And I mean, I'll say to you what I've said elsewhere. I felt a little bit like I was had a bit, to be honest with you. I thought, what actually happened here? And I say this because it's not that I have any personal animus against any of those people. I don't. I do not. I've known Michael for a number of years. I've always liked him personally.
Well, on top of that, Richard, there's another elephant in the room here that we need to address. You've gone back and forth with MUFON too over the years. So there's that part of it too. Okay.
Looking to avoid that whole thing.
Not on this show. So, there's a few,
one thing at a time here.
Right. But there's a few things in play. I want the audience to understand that it wasn't just, Corey and Salla and Tompkins and Basiago, but this was the first time for you to go back to MUFON for a long time.
Years.
Yeah, 6
last
years.
Last time I was there was 2011. And, so I always jokingly say, but I don't think it was so jokingly, that I was unofficially banned from MUFON from 2011 to 2017.
Well, I tried to get you at 2015, but if you remember.
I mean, it was just not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a contingent there even now that I know that there are people in there. They don't like me, and they're allowed not to like me. That's fine. That's their choice. But for 6 years, I was not invited. Previous to that, for 10 years, I had spoken at 5 symposiums, so like every other year, basically.
Right.
I was a regular and popular, I thought. In 2011, the whole thing came down to the fact that I was there to do a secret space lecture, believe it or not. It was one of the first that I ever gave. And I took the last 10 or 15 minutes of that to talk about the need for MUFON to reform. That came out of the blue to the leadership. And in 2011, this was a very big issue. There was a kind of a mini revolt going on in MUFON.
That's right.
Led by the late Elaine Douglas, a lady that I knew. She's no longer around. And Chase Kletsky was a little bit a part of the controversy. And James Clarkson, who just recently left MUFON again, was part of the controversy. And there's all of this stuff about how MUFON was not transparent, that it was opaque at the top. And it indeed, absolutely, that was true. And there was a lot of discontent going on in MUFON. And they fired a bunch of state directors just recently, including Elaine Douglas. And a lot of those folks went to the MUFON symposium. It was sort of like an alternate contingent. And a number of them were people that I knew and respected, including Elaine. And I decided that I was going to speak about it at the end of my lecture, and I did. And I said, basically, look, if if you have an organization like MUFON and it is clearly undemocratic without anyone having any say over who's on the board, when it's obviously by, who pays the most money and they get on, and that was a big part of it. Mm-hmm. I said, look, you can't keep you can't keep people in the dark about this forever, and they will bolt, and eventually another organization will come up and they will surpass and leave you in the dust. And the then director was Clifford Clift, and I know from 2 different sources that he turned purple practically, and vowed that I would never speak at another symposium ever again. And I didn't but Jan Harzan's different, because Jan was always, everyone always recognized that Jan was the guy who really could do some good things at MUFON. He was the guy everyone liked. He was the guy that was always knowledgeable about the subject.
Smart.
Absolutely. And
good-looking businessman, CEO, leader. Yes.
Exactly. So when he became ID, International Director, everyone thought, this is great. And it's been a struggle for him. You should have him on to do an interview with him. I think that would be great. But he asked me to speak in 2016 in Florida, and I know that was nixed by other people, and I'm not even going to get into it, and you're not going to get me to talk about it, but I know it happened. So then for 2017, he asked me, and I said, sure. I said, yes. So it was kind of like a little bit of a homecoming. I've always had a certain fondness. I've got a lot of friends in MUFON. There are so many good people in that organization. They work hard. They are dedicated. MUFON is so important to us because it's the only organization that is actually doing the most fundamentally important thing for UFOs. So many people get bored by it, but it's so necessary, and that is investigating sightings. We need that because even now in 2017, we absolutely need well-investigated UFO sightings. Because if we don't have good investigations, all we've got is just some guy's story or some woman's story, what's called a raw report. And I got news for you. A raw report is not going to cut it. So it's only a well-investigated report that will have a certain credibility for the outside world. And if we want something like disclosure or anything of the sort, we need a database of solid cases. And that's what MUFON, in theory and sometimes in practice, can give us, is that good foundation. So I believe in MUFON, and so I was glad to be able to come back there. I will say, MUFON always has had bad leadership up to Jan. I'm not including Jan here,
right?
But MUFON's leadership, in my view, has always been poor, substandard. They had Walter Andrus for 30 plus years, and the organization just basically spun its wheels. And then comes the internet, and it still spun its wheels. You have the most popular subject in the world on the internet, second to porn, I suppose, UFOs, and MUFON's membership just stayed steady at 2,000 year in, year out, all through the 90s. How is this possible?
Right.
Well, because they didn't know how to market themselves. They didn't know how to reach out. And that continued through most of the 21st century. And Jan is now trying to change that. And I wish him success in doing that successfully and with integrity. But back to my return to MUFON, I go back this year, and I was happy to go back. And then, then I discovered that I'm.
How did you find out? How did you find out? Did you
Tracy,
hear?
My fiance, she's the only one who pays attention.
Right.
Do you think I pay attention?
Oh, man.
I watch other. I'm so involved in all of the things that I'm doing. I totally forgot about MUFON.
So it wasn't a phone call from Jan.
No, it was my fiance.
Your fiance, Tracy.
Do you realize that you're on this panel? And I thought, oh, snap. So now what do I do? And at that point, I called Jan. I phoned him. And I just said, what is the deal here? I didn't realize this is all happening. And I said, do you realize that you're bringing in people whose credibility has been severely, persistently questioned by many, many, many people? Why are you doing this? And Jan's answer, which I didn't really like, and I told him I didn't like it, but it's his answer. He was, well, we're going to bring them in and let people decide for themselves. And I thought, all right. And then he asked if I wanted to be pulled from the panel. And at that point I said, no, I'm staying on this panel. I want to be on this panel now. So if there's going to be me and 4 individuals with whom I have strong disagreements about certain aspects of what they have to say, then I thought I will go. Because actually I thought about walking. I thought about not going. And once again, the sober yin to my raging yang, Tracy said, that would be foolish. Don't do that.
I remember. I'm going to tell. We got to take a break right here. I remember.
We talked about this. Didn't we?
We talked about this it was probably a 2-hour conversation.
It was totally private.
It was completely private.
I was really going to not go.
And we talked through it, and there was. Walking from that would have achieved absolutely nothing, right? I
agree.
And there you go. Let's take a break right here, Richard. And man, it's getting hot in here, Richard. It's warm on this side of the microphone. Let's see what happens on the other side. Our guest tonight, Richard Bleepin' Dolan. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
Hi, I'm Matt Ray for U.S. Gold Bureau. I cover the market daily. No matter how strong it gets or what long-term predictions say, you can count on one thing as certain. There will be another crash. It will affect your assets. And when it happens, wouldn't you rather be 2 weeks or even 2 months ahead of the curve? Well, Wall Street insiders have been quietly converting their assets into gold for the last few years. Now it's your turn. Buying gold and silver is easier than buying stocks. With the U.S. Gold Bureau's Investor Guide, it's free, and you learn how to buy precious metals in or out of an IRA or 401k retirement plan. Your investment's shipped directly to your home and is 100% insured and guaranteed. You control your investments and shelter them against the stock market, politics, and unknown threats. Act while your dollar is still worth something. Call U.S. Gold Bureau, 800-885-GOLD. U.S. Gold Bureau, 800-885-GOLD, 800-885-GOLD. Call today.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Rich Dolan at Rich Dolan. His links are up there on Twitter. You can do that now. And email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Now, Rich, you're talking about the MUFON Symposium. I kind of want to set this up for the audience that has never been there. Normally, in a normal scenario, I would say the correct word is stuffy and unfun. That's the atmosphere there. And
I don't know if I would completely agree.
Well, but what I mean, no, and I do mean that, in that they are all about the science. They're all, they just want the facts. And
they've had. I mean, I've done many MUFON Symposium in the past, and I've actually. That can happen. All right, it's easy to get caught in minutia. That can happen, but no, I think that there's been some very excellent presentations over the years at the MUFON Symposiums.
Well, I've tried to make people laugh there, and that's tough.
Tough crowd.
Yeah, tough crowd. But for this presentation, this is the opposite of what the attendees desire, right?
You asked what did I think it was a success, or what did I think how did it do? And so I would actually like to answer that. I feel that by doing what MUFON did, and I don't know all of the people who were involved in this decision. I've got some ideas, but I don't know for sure. Of bringing in what is clearly very controversial claims. And I mean, if someone in the UFO community has been like living under a rock, basically the claims are that there are certain self-proclaimed whistleblowers who have stated that they have gone to Mars. One is Andrew Basiago, one is Corey Good. William Tompkins doesn't claim that. He claimed that he designed kilometers-long spaceships, galactic ships for the Navy. described, if I'm not mistaken, by Michael Salla as unsolicited bids for the Navy. So that's a whole other thing. So think about what that means.
Mm-hmm.
You design or you draw, because he wasn't an engineer. So let's get that straight. He was a designer. He's an illustrator. He illustrated ships unsolicited for the Navy. So they didn't ask for these things. He just drew them and gave them to the Navy. I don't even know what that means. Does that mean that they built them? Seriously? I can tell you that a lot of other real whistleblowers like Gary McKinnon, and I've spoken recently to Gary McKinnon, don't put any stock in these stories either. So anyway, MUFON brings these people in of questioned credibility, and they got extra attendance out of it. But MUFON also is going to have to face the repercussions of what they've done. MUFON has a core mission, and that, like any organization, you have to respect your core mission. And in MUFON's case, it is to conduct the study of UFOs in a responsible way, and as they say, for the betterment of humanity. But their core mission, whether they say it or not, is scientific ufology.
Mm-hmm.
It always has been, always. And they also have a core constituency, and that is the hardworking investigator members who are the backbone of that organization. And what MUFON did in bringing these people in to speak was really something that damaged their core mission and angered and alienated their core constituency. So in that sense, it was not a wise move. And they're going to be paying a price for this. Now, it's not a fatal blow. There's all kinds of people out there in the blogosphere who are like, this is the end of ufology, the end of MUFON. That's clearly not. People love to get histrionic over these things, and it's not appropriate either. But it is something that I feel should have been handled better. And it will hurt them, and MUFON needs, and they've had a couple of public relations disasters over the last few months. Let's not forget John Ventry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good God, that was a horrible disaster. And it wasn't handled the way that people really wanted it handled, frankly, which is issue a burn notice against John Ventry, essentially, and say he's not welcome in the organization anymore. And that really did not happen. So there's all of these things that were floating around. And so, yeah, I entered into this little cauldron.
What do you think?
My whole take was I have to speak responsibly, in a civil way, but responsibly. And that's what I tried to do.
Do you think that there was a lot of anticipation out there leading up because of all of the background static that was running throughout the community, and then certainly through the constituency that is there, that are paying to be there, that they were expecting a blowout, a debate? For
yes,
you?
They were. Absolutely, yes. I can tell you, it's the moment of getting there, the entire weekend was.
Go get him, Richard. Go get him, Richard.
Yeah, there were members who wanted it to be like a cage match.
Right.
See us throwing down. And
which is not cool, by the way. I don't
want to do that. But on the other hand, I have always felt an obligation to represent the UFO field in the best way that I can, and in a responsible way. And when I do feel that non-credible claims are being promoted right on the panel where I'm sitting, then I have to speak up. Otherwise, because here's what happens. If I don't speak up, then that's forever, right? Because that panel right now is on YouTube, and it's there for the rest of all time. And every time that I'm in a situation where I'm forced to confront someone, like I have to think about this because it's always going to be recorded. There's many times in my life when I would have been very happy to weasel out of having a confrontation because I didn't want to have I didn't want to, fight. I didn't want to get into it. But I knew that would not be the case here, that I had to speak my mind. And by the way, that panel is on YouTube. I would encourage people to listen to it. And really, it's essentially 4 individuals and myself, and I had the different opinion.
Did you
and
guys?
What I said.
Okay. We'll get to that. Did you guys hang out before the panel?
No.
Not at all.
No.
There wasn't a weigh-in.
I've had meals with Michael Salla. We've talked on a number of occasions.
Right.
I think he and his wife are very lovely people. So I've met him socially. I did not talk with Andrew before the panel. I did take this was funny actually, the bus from the airport to the hotel. Tracy and I arrived in Las Vegas. I'm talking to my driver, and he says, "Yeah, I'm here at the baggage claim with Andrew Basiago. I'm going to drive all of you together."
Oh, nice.
And we just looked at each other and we thought, awkward. but
what was that conversation like on the way to the hotel?
It was actually it was fine.
Okay.
The thing about Andrew is, from my perspective, my dealings with him, he's an extremely likable human being. When you meet him, he's very intelligent, and he's nice. What am I going to say against him? I can't say anything personal against him. We were very dancing around things for a while. We wouldn't want to talk about this. And finally, as we were about to walk into the hotel, I broke the ice and I just said, "Look, okay, I'm not here to go after you personally. I have no interest in doing that." And he said, "I understand that." And he said, "You should become more familiar with my story." And I said, "Well, I am familiar with your story. I'm familiar enough with your story. I don't believe you went back to Gettysburg in 1863 and were photographed, and there you are in the picture just because you say that's you. That I don't believe."
You said that to him?
Yeah, I said.
Wow.
I don't believe that.
Okay.
I don't know if I mentioned about Barack Obama being with him to Mars. I don't believe that, and I don't know if I said that to Andrew. But on the other hand, I said, look, I would be willing to talk with you one-on-one, and I am, actually. I am. We haven't since then, but I am fine. And we have each other's phone numbers, so I'm in his cell phone, he's in mine.
Okay, good.
So we could talk, and I'm not opposed to it. I don't think he's going to persuade me. He's had many opportunities through his lectures, and I'm familiar with him, and I don't believe. Now, is it impossible that there's a program on Mars? I'm going to say it is not impossible. All right. But what is, the devil is in the details. And the thing is, you got to look at people's stories over the course of time as they have told it and how those stories have changed and evolved. And you find inconsistencies and you find oddities. And that is the case with Andy, and that is the case with Corey Goode as well, I would say. And in the case of William Tompkins, I don't want to talk against a man who's 94 years old, so I don't really know what's up with him. But I don't believe that he actually drew galactic quality. I mean, he drew them, but I don't think it had anything more happened than that. Certainly not in the 1950s or 60s. There are many.
Well, what's difficult with William?
That I do believe, but I don't believe those 3 individuals.
What's difficult with William is he's got the credentials and the paperwork to back up his identity, and he says who he's, his military career.
That's true. Well, he's some of his military career is identifiable.
Yes.
He had what is clear about him is that he has a low level. He had a low level kind of designation during World War II. He was a kid. He was in his late teens, so he would. And what has been argued by Michael Salla, and Tompkins makes this claim, is that he had a covert element to his World War II career, and that could be true. I recognize that the argument and the evidence that is put forward for that is not a bad argument.
No, it's pretty strong, actually. Yeah,
I think that's probably true. And but the problem is that is irrelevant. It is utterly irrelevant having anything to do with claims about a secret space program. So it is entirely possible that Tompkins had a covert job, and he claims that it was a covert job. Now, this is where we really are making a stretch here, that it had to do with our agents who were in Nazi Germany ferreting out Nazi technology. Now that's a different and a much more radical claim, and that is one that neither Michael nor Bill Tompkins have been able to substantiate. And I doubt that they will be able to. But that Tompkins may have done some classified work for Admiral Ricabota, yes, in World War II. I'm acknowledging that that's probably the case. But then you go to the entire mini-skirted aliens, and you go to the image of the woman who is the founder of the Vril Society. I can't remember her name offhand, but Tompkins says like she was the woman, or she was the identical splitting image of the woman who was the Pleiadian in the 1950s. And I'm just calling BS on that. I don't believe that was the case. I didn't say that on the panel. I argued other things on the panel, but I didn't bother to get into that whole thing. But
how do you think the audience reception was to? And I'm sure they were just fine with you, but with Corey and Sala and Basiago.
There were supporters of Corey Goode and William Tompkins at that panel. Absolutely, in the audience, there were definitely, and Andrew. There were a number of individuals who, by their very questions, certainly seemed that they were supporting.
Were there squirming in the seats? Was there any uncomfortable moments?
I actually wouldn't be the best person to tell you that. I mean, when I'm on a panel, especially that panel, I was very focused on what was being said.
Sure.
And what I wanted to say. And I really wasn't studying the audience.
So no murmuring, no rumbling.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think there was an interesting statement at the end by Jim Mann, who's a friend of mine. He's the head of Phoenix MUFON, one of the best MUFON groups in the country.
Absolutely.
And Jim got up there and I wish, well, it's on YouTube so people can listen to it, but I'm only going to paraphrase. But it was a very strong statement against those individuals and a very strong statement for responsible UFO research. So people should check that out. It's at the very end of the panel on YouTube. And I do encourage people to listen to it. I thought it brought out the dichotomy that's going on in this field right now. And what I said, and I want to say this here because I feel that this is fundamental. And I really got strongly criticized just recently by Michael Sala for saying it. I was surprised that he decided to go there. But what I said, and what I'll repeat till I'm blue, is that, I, as a UFO researcher, for example, when I am dealing with the outside world, people who don't know anything about UFOs, I recognize that I have an obligation to present evidence for those people to examine. And it is their choice to accept or reject my evidence. But it's my job to present evidence that other people can look at. And as I've done that, I feel that, there's a great deal of documentary evidence attesting to the reality of this phenomenon and to the cover-up as well. So that's where I go. I don't demand people to trust me because I've got this really good inside guy who says this, this, and this, and this. I don't do that because that's actually implicitly arrogant and it implicitly puts you above the audience because you're basically saying, I am the receptacle of special knowledge here. You're not, so you have to believe me. And, oh, yes, I'm very important, and I'm an ambassador to all of these people. And, I mean, Corey Goode's not the only person who says he's an ambassador.
No, that's gone on for decades. I mean,
but every time anyone says that,
right.
A, don't believe them, because it's certainly not true.
Right.
And B, recognize that what they're doing implicitly is a power game over you. All right. So, and it's really not good cricket. It's not fair. So what I said anyway was that as a researcher, I expect other people to demand evidence from me that they can examine, and that's fair. And I said, you whistleblowers on here on the panel with me have the same obligation to provide evidence that we can examine. In other words, like most of it, we don't even know who you are for real. Like we don't know your genuine backgrounds. I mean, other than Tompkins. much less your stories. And by the way, the stories are all, look, what Corey has been saying, every single claim he's made other than blue avians has been floating around in this community. All of it was there long before, including stuff that, ideas that I originated, like the idea of a breakaway civilization. And my goodness, even the idea of a secret space program, which I was talking about back in 2010, 2011. And I'm not saying I'm the only source for that, but these ideas were absolutely current and out there. So, if they're going to claim special provenance, well, they're going to have to do something better than just say, then trust me, which fundamentally is really what these people are doing. They don't count as whistleblowers, I said, because I don't know who they are. I use the example of William Binney of the NSA. I know who William Binney is. The entire world knows who he is. His background as one of the senior NSA code makers and officers is well known and documented. The fact that he was arrested by the FBI for being a hero is well documented. All right. The fact that he talked about how the NSA spies on the American public long before the world knew about Snowden is well documented. He counts. He's a whistleblower. I count Gary McKinnon as a whistleblower because I know who Gary McKinnon is. I know what he did, and I know that the United States government tried to imprison him for over a decade.
Yeah, the two governments fought over him, for sure.
He's a real guy with a real background. I cannot say the same about Andy or Corey in particular.
What if
and there
Corey...
are other individuals that I can't say. I don't know who they are. So until they can tell me, until we can talk to family members, for example. Right. And other people who can vouch for them, then no. And in fact, none of that has come out. Not even spouses. Not even, I'm trying to get up to speed on everything that's happening here. And I know that Corey's wife has no recollection of any explicit secret space program activity that he's done. And she has no evidence that she can provide other than what he tells her. So what do we really have here? I mean, maybe it's true. Maybe beyond all of that, all of my doubts, it's true. But what I would say is that it doesn't even matter if I believe or if you believe. It really doesn't matter. What I say is they've got to provide something that we genuinely can examine.
What if, well, let me ask you, let me jump in.
I don't really know what to do with these stories.
Well, let me jump in really quick. What if Corey, he's going to be on this show tomorrow, right? If I brought Corey on tomorrow, I'm not saying that I would, I don't know. But what if I, got all of the beans spilled? Name of elementary school, junior high school, his parents' names, street addresses, if just the full-on list of the CV in its completion. Does that change things?
Well, I'd like to see a character analysis done.
Right.
So, for one thing, what people who've known him well would have to say about him. What kind of person is he really?
Right.
I don't know what kind of person. I've spoken with him.
Right.
And he's very genial with me, and he was gracious, and I have no complaints about how he spoke with me personally. But I don't really know what kind of person he is. Well, you might. You know him better than I do, but I don't.
Well, I remember, and in your defense, I want everybody to understand something here. When Corey spoke here in Los Angeles, after I introduced Corey, I walk off the stage, and I'm walking out of the room, and I bump into Richard Dolan, right? So Richard is standing on the side, leaning against the wall, and you stopped me and you said, I'm going to listen to everything he has to say. We'll talk later. And I said, okay, good. And I split. Well, after that, you did come up to me outside and you said, let's talk. And and I said, okay, let's do it. What did you think? And now that was a private conversation, but what was interesting was you flipped it back onto me and you said, I want to know what you think, church, right? I said, okay, all right.
That's right.
And I said, I'm going to be honest with you, Richard. We're dealing with one of three Coreys here, and I don't know which one it is. We're dealing with somebody that has been to Mars and is on the council, right? He's a delegate, or he's somebody that is lying for money and is an opportunist, and this is a big hoax. Or C, and the third Corey that is out there, is that there's some kind of MK Ultra mind control thing where he believes what he is saying is true, but these are some type of false memories, and it's something sinister. So, and I don't know. And I've asked Corey those same three things, and I presented that to him.
Well,
and
none of us know, but we don't have anything to work off of. So it's either people believe what they want to believe. They choose to trust him or not.
And there you go, because he's Richard Bleepin' Dolan. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back.
On JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Richard Dolan. Always the dynamic conversation with Sir Richard Bleepin' Dolan. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com, and you can follow Richard at Rich Dolan. I don't think there's an underscore, Rich.
Oh, I can't forget.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I don't want to mislead anybody.
People can search me out and yeah, I've got a Twitter feed. I do Facebook, and there's my website.
Now, back to this.
Which is richarddolanpress.com. I will just say that. Okay, go on.
Yeah, well, the links are over at Jimmy Church Radio. They know how to find you.
Gotcha.
Okay, so as you sat through the panel and listened to everybody's presentations, maybe even got the feel of personalities and feeling what was going on with the, that's a pretty good crowd too, by the way, for MUFON, having 800 there. What's your position now? Do you feel that these are voices that need to be heard, or do you feel differently?
No, I think these are voices that need to justify much better than they have up till now. Justify their case. I don't feel that they've justified their case. Now, I want to just emphasize that I have believed for many years, and I continue to believe, that there is a secret space program. So, that's, and I've felt this for a long time, and I've gone by a combination of things that I know relating to the UFO phenomenon, things that I know relating to traditional, historical, genuine insider statements about the moon and about UFOs accompanying our astronauts on the way to the moon. There's quite a bit of that. What I know about anomalies that have been recorded in Earth orbit, which there's quite a few very, very good ones that are hard to explain away as conventional. I mean, some are, but there's a number that are not. So there's strangeness happening in Earth orbit, and what I've said for years is ipso facto that's going to be evidence of a secret space program, no matter who's behind those anomalies. Even if we're not making those anomalies, we're going to be studying them covertly, and that would be a secret space program. But on top of that, there's a few other insider leaks that I do credit. I credit the 1988 ARV story. This is the alien reproduction vehicle story that comes from an aerospace aviation executive named Brad Sorensen. That story, that whole account comes through Mark McCandlish, who's an aviation illustrator. And a lot of people interviewed Brad Sorensen, like high-level, very well plugged-in individuals who all came away believing his story. And what he claimed was that he went to an air show, a classified air show, and he saw 3 hovering objects that were essentially flying saucers, described as alien reproduction vehicles. This is in 1988. A 4-star general was lecturing at a podium about them and stated that they had traveled through the solar system by then. That's 1988. And that their energy source was the vacuum. This is a year before the first published paper on zero-point energy, sometimes known as the vacuum. So there's an interesting story, and I believe that story. And there's others. There's actually a very good case to be made for a secret space program. But the difference for me is that for me it's a hypothesis and a probable scenario. So I have not made a claim that I've been part of it. Now, in theory, you would think, okay, well, if it exists, then at some point there would be insiders who would have something to say about it, and that's a valid position. I just don't believe that these individuals are those insiders.
The other aspect of all of this is, I mean, for me, is why do it? That's the question that I've always had. It's just why do it? Why do it? Why do it? Nobody's driving a Lamborghini here, I don't think.
Well, there are some people who get off on lying. I mean, I had a friend years ago. I talked about him a number of times. Great guy. Had hundreds of cups of coffee with him. Brilliant, funny, good friend. Lied his ass off and lied about things pertaining to himself all the time. And we didn't even, our friends, we didn't know about this until after he died. He died tragically young. And I miss him to this day. But he loved to tell tall tales. It didn't make him a bad person, by the way. It just means that we're complicated people. So I don't know why people say the things that they do sometimes. I can't get into everyone's head. But people do tell falsehoods. And that's just what happens. And so when a researcher gets an account from an individual, I mean, they can't simply just take it that is true. And this is where I'm going to respond publicly to something that Michael Salla wrote to me, about me, below one of the YouTube interviews that I gave recently with Bill Ryan, who's the founder of Avalon. And I was very surprised, frankly, that Michael decided to go where he did. And
well, let me say this:
like he got personal. He basically said that I engage in clever sophistry when I stated that it's the obligation of these individuals to provide evidence. He says it's not the obligation of them. It is the obligation of researchers to disprove them. And I say that that's wrong.
Right.
That's absolutely wrong. Because if that's the obligation, then we're right back to the Salem witch trials, where any accusation that someone makes is taken as true, and that's ridiculous. That's absurd. It is not my obligation to disprove your claim. It is your obligation to provide me with evidence that I can examine.
Right. Well, I can't comment on any of that because I haven't seen that video or that interview, or I haven't been to Project Avalon. I have no idea what goes on in that forum, and or any of the other stuff. I just don't. I don't want to get clouded or get bogged down in that.
So, but I'll just and I'm not even responding personally. There were some personal remarks he made that I was a bit surprised by, but my attitude is. We are very foolish if we abandon an evidence-based approach to this phenomenon. It's important to speculate. My goodness, I do it all the time. Some people think I do it too often. But I think speculation is very important. But we have to be factually based as well.
Sure. And then what do we do, Richard, when we have things like Whitley Strieber and Communion, or Travis Walton, or Betty and Barney Hill, or
every story has to be analyzed individually.
But there's no evidence for anything. Otherwise,
in Travis's case, we've got something that's actually pretty good.
We have polygraph, yes, and we have witnesses,
and we have multiple witnesses.
But
so you have Travis and 6 guys that he was with.
My thing is, this is my take on anybody's story. Nobody came back with a Palladian T-shirt, right? Okay, there's no evidence. It's all, whether it's polygraph test or eyewitness testimony, but there is no evidence. Otherwise, it would be case closed. We don't.
In the case of someone like Travis Walton, I believe his story.
I do too.
The reason that I do is for some of the reasons that I just mentioned. The fact that I personally have spent a great deal of FaceTime with Travis. I've known him for years, and I once drove across the state of Pennsylvania alone with him, and we had a long conversation about life and everything, and about his experience. And the other thing is that he has never wavered, not an instant, not expanded, not extrapolated.
That's right.
Absolutely rock solid.
Right.
The Betty and Barney Hill case, I would put in a similar category. And the reasons would be simply if one goes and investigates the nature of the case, I think you can see like how this whole thing came about and why it's probably very credible, at least that they're telling the truth. Whitley Strieber is different, and I'm friends with Whitley, and I do believe Whitley, by the way, but he's in a different category because not all, but most of his experiences don't really have other witnesses. But
And I'm not singling out
Ed Conroy, who wrote about Report on Communion years ago, who actually investigated Whitley, thinking that he was hoaxing, and came away after. And I read Report on Communion by Ed Conroy, and he came away very strongly convinced that Whitley was genuine.
Yeah, I do too. But let me jump in though. I'm not singling out any of those three. I could any UFO experience that has been put into book form can be presented with the same thing. I mean, there is no evidence. Otherwise, it would be case closed on everything.
There's evidence. Maybe you say there's no proof. I don't know. I mean, I think there's evidence for the UFO reality for sure. There's strong evidence.
Right.
You know, I mean, I go back again to the military records. Those are not fake. Those are real. They indicate something going on that's not supposed to have been going on, and yet it was happening. Objects that were not supposed to exist did exist. Were being chased by our best interceptors, which failed.
Right.
Tracked on radar, seen visually, the whole thing. It's all there. So something important has been going on, and there have, along with that, been sightings and alleged encounters with non-human beings. That's a little different, but there's so many of such people. And you and I and many others have spoken with a lot of these people and interviewed them. And I think most of us would agree that they are credible individuals. And they're not really, most of these people are not seeking attention anyway. Almost none of them, a very few. So, you know, there's that. Not every whistleblower has that same level of credibility that they bring to the table. And when they're making themselves the story, that's one thing to be wary of. When a person is making themselves more important than the actual story, and that is the case, I would suggest, with Corey and with Andy, and to a sense with Bill Tompkins, then I'm a bit suspicious, you know.
Yeah, all we can do is move forward. You know, I have. You know, going back to what I had originally said in this show, which is we absolutely have to listen to everybody. There's a little bit of something in everything.
I agree with this.
I mean, it blows my mind how much you know better than anybody. You host a radio show. You know what I do. I'm at the center of all of this information coming at me. Daily. And most of it, Richard, conflicts, right? Most of it conflicts. The audience,
a lot of
the audience.
The thing about the UFO mystery is that it is so perplexing. Like when you think you have an answer, then information comes from another direction that just gives a wholly different perspective, or even refutes what you think you believed. There's a
exhausting
variety of different things going on here, and it is incredibly complex. That's one thing that makes it so important. It's so clearly on the leading edge of all these different areas of knowledge in our world. There's a powerful truth to this phenomenon, and we really need to understand it, because I actually believe it's the key that's going to unlock us to the next phase of whatever it is we're supposed to be, is understanding this phenomenon.
I tell you, I want to share this with everybody. I know we've told the story before, but let's lock this down. One night, this is a couple of years ago, a contact in the desert. Richard is hanging out with the Fadernauts. We're having a party. And night vision shows up, and prior to the night vision showing up, Richard and I and Mike Barra, Mike is being the bump on the log that night.
2016, I believe.
Yeah. And we were talking about, hey, how cool would it be? And Richard says to me, it'd be kind of cool. You know, I'm a little jealous that you saw this last night, Jimmy. It'd be really cool if we saw something.
Right.
Well, a half hour later, the night vision arrives. And we walk out to the parking lot and look up, and you and I, and of course the skeptic, right, the debunker Barra, the three of us see this object in the sky light up in front of us, and we watch this thing fly across the sky, and we shared the night vision, and it was something that truly was a UFO. I mean, you cannot explain what we saw.
It wasn't an aircraft.
No.
I would agree with you. And it wasn't so high up either.
No, it was
like a satellite. It was right there.
It was right there.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And this is the thing. I've had a couple of other night vision experiences, not many, but a few. And when you look at the night sky with good night vision equipment, there's so much activity out there. If the night is clear, there's a tremendous amount of activity. You just have no idea until you look at it. And not all of it is conventional. Some of these things are very bizarre indeed.
And when we talk, I wanted to, the other aspect to all of this, for you, when you brought and coined the term breakaway civilization and brought that forward, that's a pretty hard concept for people to wrap their minds around too, as well. So when you present something like that, which is as absolutely as intriguing as it can be, and also totally possible, how do you want people to accept and try to absorb that kind of concept and theory?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I came up with that idea. I'd been reading. This is going to sound really like overly academic, but I was reading a concise history by Arnold Toynbee, one of the greatest historians who ever lived, and he wrote this extended thing called A Study in Civilizations. And I happen to have a copy of a brilliantly condensed version of that. So it's like, I don't know, 700 pages, whatever. And what Toynbee did way back then was he looked at all the different human civilizations as he understood them and defined them. And I mean, one can agree or not agree with him, but I thought it was a very interesting exercise that he did, and it got me thinking about what is it that constitutes an actual civilization. And I just kept thinking, well, civilizations normally in the last 500 years, all the various civilizations of the world have been sort of combining and intermingling, but is it possible that there could be a civilization that exists in the classified world that's actually breaking away from all of that, that has its own technology, that has its own cosmology, its own understanding of the universe, and has its own interactions with these other beings? Would that constitute a separate civilization? And I thought, yeah, probably in a lot of ways it would. Now, does that mean that they're all living on Mars and in a kind of alternative 3 setting? It doesn't have to, not at all. It could mean that they come home for holidays and have barbecues with their family and relatives. It could mean that they're living on Earth because maybe Earth is where the action is anyway. Maybe they have jobs in underground facilities that are totally off limits and people have no idea what's going on. Does it mean that they have advanced technology? Probably, but how advanced? That's the question I don't know the answer to. Do they have advanced propulsion? Yes, I think that they do. Do they have time travel capabilities? Well, that's another question. I have not found any evidence to think that there's been a breakthrough in that, but maybe it's theoretically possible.
Well, when you have
there's just to say, like, there's a breakaway civilization doesn't mean that they're magical in every way, and this is where I've become a little distressed by some of these claims.
Well, when we have the X-37B, right, that if you want evidence of a secret space program that is now public, well, there you go. Right there. Now, how far does it go beyond that? I don't know. Is it possible?
Right, we don't know.
Right.
I think it does go beyond that, and I do think that we've actually been going off-world. So it's entirely possible that there's a covert program dealing with the moon and Mars. I think it's entirely possible. I'll tell you one story. Years ago, over a decade ago, I was just kind of still a new guy in this field, and I was communicating with one scientist who I felt was kind of in the know, or at least he seemed like he was. And I remember I was testing him out, and I wrote an email, and I intentionally belittled the claims about Mars. This is before Andy. This is Richard Hoagland's stuff. And I wasn't actually belittling all of those claims, but I did it intentionally in this email to this particular scientist. And he wrote back and he said, I wouldn't belittle that stuff if I were you. There's a lot of us in the classified world who are looking very carefully about Mars anomalies. And he didn't really want to say much more than that, but that got my attention. So I'm of the opinion, strongly, I would add, that this phenomenon, it's not only real, but it involves a clandestine infrastructure. And that infrastructure, in part, is in space. And they have no intention of letting us in on this. They don't have insiders who want to alert the public to this. I do not believe it. They have way too much to lose. Now, if there's a disclosure of the UFO reality, I do think a secret space program will be one of those messy little realities that's going to come out, and we're going to have to deal with it. But I personally do not believe that any of those people who have any power on the inside are ever willingly going to give us the answers. Because they just have way too much to lose.
What do we do with, we have Corey, we have William, we have Sala, Basiago's time travel. He's kind of on the outside of these concepts. But then
Corey Good has said that he went for 20 years to Mars and then came back and not only age regressed but time regressed. I mean, how is that really any different?
No, what I'm referring to is whistleblowers here and context on the inside. And now we have Tom DeLonge. And the same thing where the celebrity aspect and the ability to have a talent agency behind him and Hollywood and the music and the pull and his audience, we have him coming into this play too as well, and we have another trust factor that is also, and it is it's
in
tangible.
His case, there's difference because DeLonge, who's the lead singer of Blink-182, and there's other people that can be spoken that we could be interviewed. So John Podesta is someone who, in theory, we can approach. DeLonge communicated with Podesta about the UFO subject. DeLonge communicated with General William McCaslin, who was the former commander of the Air Force Research Lab at Wright-Patt. DeLonge was in touch with General Michael Carey of U.S. Space Command and Robert Weiss, who was the head of Lockheed Skunk Works. Those are real people. And in theory, we can approach them and say, what's the story? Why are you connected with Tom DeLonge, and why are you apparently stating that there's ET technology that you guys are working on, which is apparently that's the story. Now, there's a spin with that story, by the way. The spin is that the U.S. military are the good guys. The aliens are kind of scary. They're protecting us, and the secrecy has served a very good purpose. We can question that. We certainly ought to question that. But at least in his case, he's got actual, genuine individuals that we can investigate, check into, question, interrogate.
Have you been in touch?
No, not with Tom DeLonge, no. We know each other. But I tried getting in touch with him a number of months ago, but I think he's busy. He's got a lot going on. I mean, I don't think he was blowing me off, but I think he was just very busy.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later about that. Anyway, hey, Richard, man, thank you so much. And when is the bleeping book coming out?
Well, as long as I'm not being asked to contribute to Wikipedia sites and the like and other projects, which I'm always being asked to do things, and it's hard. And right now I'm doing a renovation of my house. How about that? So I was hanging drywall today. But I have written several hundred pages of my false flag book, and I would like to have it done this year. It may be a little later, but it won't be long. I want this book done. I'm working on it.
Anything else going on? Have you signed any new authors?
No, I was talking with Mike Cleland, author of The Messengers, and he is going to be coming out with a sequel to that really excellent, powerful book. I have to say Cleland's book, The Messengers, is one of the best books in the UFO field of the 21st century. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great book.
It's a page-turner. And it's one of those few books that you read that really will cause you to question the very structure of what you think reality is. And no matter how experienced one thinks one is in this field, that book is a unique one. Well, so he's coming out with a sequel to that, and I think that'll be a couple of months. I will probably put out a little booklet on UFOs in the media. I'm doing an analysis of mainstream media coverage of the UFO phenomenon, like 80, 90 pages. I'm just going to put that out there. I think it'll be useful, but I'm still working on my false flag book.
Thank you so much, Richard, for doing everything that you do. You know this, and every chance that I get, I say it. I say it often, both directly and to the audience. Your voice and the way that you represent this community, you just make us proud, and don't screw it up, okay?
Thank you. I feel like the luckiest guy I know because I do what I love, and this field can make me crazy at times. It's a lot of stress at times, but honestly, I would not want to do anything else. I love what I do, the people that I've met along the way. It's the most fascinating journey I can imagine, and I intend never to leave it.
Thank you so much, my friend. Have a great, safe rest of your evening.
Thank you, Jimmy. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Richard. Richard Bleepin Dolan. And that was the conversation that I expected. Thank you so much, Richard. And I did not mean to ambush Richard, but the point is he will always come on this show and be open and frank and tell it like it is. And that's why we love Richard Bleepin Dolan. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network, KGRA The Planet. I'll be right back.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
I'm Matt Ray with America's First News. We all know if you're planning a trip, you should shop and compare, right? But why endlessly search the web when you don't have to? Flight Services helps you find the lowest possible airfare. Talk directly to a travel pro right now for the best deals available. Their travel pros have additional discounts not found on websites, and Flight Services provides 24-hour customer service. Call toll-free 844-845-9944. That's 844-845-9944.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. Thank you, Richard Dolan. I just posted up in the chat room. Richard always brings his A game. Love that guy. I mean, I have, over the years, I've managed to introduce Richard at all the conferences that we do together. And the one thing that I bring up to the audience, there is his 10-minute speech that he did at the citizens' hearing. And that 10 minutes of YouTube is extraordinary. And if you haven't seen it, if you haven't seen that 10-minute presentation that he does, you need to go and watch it, because that statement, that 10-minute monologue of Richard's, says it so perfectly well for what is going on in ufology and the UFO phenomenon. And he represents us. And so when others out there, outside of the UFO community, that have heard about disclosure, or they've heard, and they, they go and do a quick search, and that video pops up, that's what they see. They see that, and he represents us, and I'm just so proud, and that we have him speaking for us with the voice of reason. And I really, really mean that. And I've thrown him under the bus with that so many times, and I've embarrassed him so many times with that. But he has got that feather in his cap, and I thank him for that. And we have we've had a lot of conversations that have been very, very open. And I know that the level of comfort for him when he comes on this show, that he knows that he can let it all hang out, and this is the forum for that. So I want to thank Richard. Just another amazing conversation. All right, I've got some news here that you know absolutely nothing about. I've got phone calls lined up on both phone lines, so I guess I'll open up the phones. 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. And let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, this is Bill over in Northern Missouri.
Hey, Bill in Northern Missouri. How are you?
Great. How you doing?
I'm doing good. What's on your mind?
Is Richard gone? Is he left us?
Yeah, he's gone. He's in New York.
Here's a question I have. And I don't know what you gathered from it. Considering the secret space program, we seem to have a global thing going on where they're trying to establish a collective across the whole planet. Are we being enslaved, or what? You know what I'm saying? And why are we shut out from the knowledge of what's going on? What's your take on it? That's my question about it.
That's a great question. See, the part of the darkness, or a large part of the darkness, is we have trillions and trillions of missing black budget dollars that have disappeared. Where is it being spent? If you look at, Bill, the hardcore budgets that were on, say, things like the space shuttle program, or you look at Apollo, and you look at the budgets of the ISS, those are the small, infinitesimal dollars compared to the missing money that is out there. So how extensive is this program? Not only out there, but quite possibly what is being spent on underground facilities and bases that we just don't see. that are being constructed. I don't know. Bill, what I think the large part of the secrecy is then they have to turn around and answer for that. And they have to tell us what is really going on and where the money is being spent. That is the big part of the secrecy.
Yeah. Apparently they have no intention of telling us. So that makes us, they have enslaved us to pay for all of their extravagant things, you know?
Yeah,
absolutely. And we're shut out. We're shut out from the Star Trek life.
Yes, we are.
So they can have it, you know?
Well,
this really sucks.
I know, right? And Bill, thank you for the phone call. Great question. And the other part about that is we would start to question the way that things were budgeted and where money is spent, where we could have spent it on programs, not only worldwide, but here in the United States. Certainly we have issues with poverty and with food and with infrastructure and the educational system and our veterans and health care, and the list goes on and on and on and on. That could be fixed with almost everything, with just like $1 trillion of those dollars that is completely missing, and we just don't know what it has been spent on. No question about that. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Scott Richards.
Oh, hey, Scott. Roll up your window.
I'm in a truck heading home, baby.
Okay. What'd you think?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. What'd you think of the show tonight? What's your question?
Well, my question is very simple. I talked to you once before, and now I get Richard Dolan. We talked about Corey Good, and I was on your texting there going on with your show. What the hell's really going on here, Jimmy?
With what side of it?
Well, you get Basiago and you get Corey Good talking about these secret space programs, and Richard Dolan is on the opposite end of it, saying he doesn't really know what to believe in because he's not sure if they're really telling the truth. Are they telling the truth, or are they not telling the truth?
Well, Richard's take with anything, Richard is pragmatic. Richard is black and white. Richard is about evidence and backing up yourself. And if you are going to call yourself a whistleblower, and this is Richard's take, and it is the real one, that is, if you're going to come forward, whether you're whistleblowing with the IRS or you're whistleblowing with the secret space program, or you're whistleblowing like Edward Snowden, you disclose your background, everything about you, and that is his main thing. So he feels that.
But is Corey doing that? Are they really acknowledging their background?
Well, that's got to be the next step with Corey. And that's the truth. I've spoken to Corey about this. He knows what's going on, and
right.
And he knows what those expectations are, and so is that part of his future? You know what, Corey listens to everything. He knows what's going on, and it's up to Corey, but certainly. For a more broader acceptance into the UFO community, for those pragmatic people out there, you are going to have to bring that stuff forward eventually. You have to.
Well, he seems to be very calm in his reserve, which he doesn't get rattled too easy.
Right.
And it's really kind of amazing. I asked a question earlier, and I didn't get an answer, obviously, because you're so busy on the show. Was Eisenhower, the girl that you spoke to last night, was she in that jump room thing with the gentleman that was
No. I believe, I've talked to Laura about this. It's been a while, but I think she was asked. She was approached, but no, I don't think she ever did.
Is that jump room real, in your opinion?
Andrew has told me where the building used to be. I mean, I know that area really well. I've talked to Andrew about the valley and different locations out here, and he really knows his stuff. But the building, I don't believe that building is there anymore, down on Century Boulevard near LAX. So
has Richard Richard Dolan ever been presented that question in his opinion? You know if he's got an opinion on that?
Well, again, I think Richard's been very clear about that. I mean, I've interviewed Andrew a lot, and I've sat with Andrew a lot, privately.
Right.
And I find him to be a great personality. He's fun. He's cool. He's very, very smart. I mean, he's smart on another level. And you know, it's tough when it comes to things like where we're going to the very fringes of acceptance, like time travel or jump rooms, or going to these claims about Mars. You know, it's not just limited to Corey and Andrew Bishago. These things have been stated over the years by many different people. And it's extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. And it's a tough thing when you can't provide that. You know, and I know what everybody wants. I want it. You know, I've said I've said to Corey, I said, look, dude, the glass pad, man. Can you bring one of those back with you? Can you take a picture? Can you shoot a cell phone video? You know, can you do, you know, I've asked all these things. And of course, you know, that would be the game changer for everybody, wouldn't it? So who knows what the future is?
So he can't bring that back? He's not allowed to bring that back?
I think what you should do before I take up a bunch of time here at the end of the show, Scott, is just go back and listen to some of the other interviews. But I'm going to have Corey on the show tomorrow night. I'll hit him with it tomorrow night. All right?
Yeah, that would be really cool. Hey, by the way, Jimmy, this is Scotty from Hollywood, from St. Valentine. Man, pick up that guitar and play, baby.
I'll talk to you. Thank you so much.
Peace out, my friend.
I'll talk to you. Right back at you. Great phone call, Scott. Thank you so much. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, this is Captain. How are you, sir?
Hey, Captain, how are you?
All right, listen. Boy, I'll tell you, you had Dolan on tonight, and I really want to challenge the guy, because I think that he does not know what he's talking about. I think you know my background, and I told you, and I mentioned to you quite some time ago about that jump room and about Andrew and former President Barack Obama. And you know the story behind that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said from the very beginning, those two individuals, let's just say I know their background quite well because of what I went through. And at the same time, I got to say this. Mars is just like Sedona, Arizona.
Right.
Very red, rusted area, blue skies, clouds. Mars is just like Sedona, Arizona. You feel like you on Earth, but you're not. That jump room is very, very real, my friend.
Well, Captain, and thank you for the phone call. And it does look. We have to have everybody on the show. That includes Dolan, that includes Corey Good, and everybody else, and yourself, because we need to gather here and talk, right? And that's it. Your experience, your comments, your input on this show is invaluable, Captain. You know, and if you thought for a second that I was going to, I'd take your phone call and make fun of you, you would never call in. And then your information is not put on the table. And that's not what this show is about. And you know that, right? So that's it.
Absolutely.
Everybody is allowed to gather here and talk. All right?
Absolutely.
And
I think that people are going to be very, very shocked when former President Barack Obama makes his announcement about who he is. Because I think I mentioned this to you before. And I said to a lot of folks, do not be surprised about this particular individual, as well as Andrew. Because those two individuals were in a class together quite some time ago. And as you well know, I'm in my late 60s, and I'm about the same age Andrew and Barack Obama. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of similarities what these gentlemen went through and what I went through. And I got to say this. I would love to have Dolan back on, and I would love to call in and contest to some of the things he's saying, because he don't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, Captain. And always remember, man, everybody's got a free shot, to have freedom of thought here, just like you. Thank you so much, my friend.
All right, thank you, sir.
You got it. Thank you, Captain. Let's just stay on the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, good evening. This is Kenny.
Hey, Kenny. Where are you calling from?
Well, I was calling from San Diego.
Okay, what's on your mind?
Well, I had a couple questions. First of all, I won the shirt last week on Twitter on Grant's awesome episode, but I haven't got an email back from you guys yet. So I just figured I'd let you know it was me, so you would know to check that email.
Okay, I'm sure it's been shipped.
Oh no, I haven't even got a hold of anybody yet.
Well, yeah, but we have a shipping department that handles all of that. I don't see that stuff, but.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Yeah, I just had a quick question.
Sure.
MUFON, they request everybody to make a report for their sightings. Do you feel like that could be a little bit of a, 1-800, how's my driving kind of thing? So if we saw a sighting, they didn't want us to see it, why should we report it so they can know they made a mistake and they can corroborate that?
Well, I think first off, with MUFON, everything is anonymous. So
time and date is not.
Well, yeah, but they wouldn't know who you are if you don't want them to know who you are, right?
Oh yeah, I understand that. But if you sent something over San Diego and then you didn't mean for it to be seen, and then people started reporting it, now whatever agency doesn't want you to know that, now they can log that down.
Well, that's always the paradox, though, Kenny. That's exactly right. I mean, seriously. And when we have, and thank you for the phone call, my friend, and take a picture when you get the T-shirt, okay, and post it.
Thanks.
All right, man. Thank you so much. That's when we have things like the black triangles being sighted. Right, and those are probably the majority of those are military aircraft. Somebody's getting busted, right? I've always wondered about that, and they can see who is seeing what and possibly who is making mistakes. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, it's Josh.
Hey, Josh, how are you?
Hey, doing good, man. I was calling. Hey, man, I'm a nobody, man. I live in Texas, and I listened to the conference, and it's pretty interesting. I'm kind of like this with Andrew Basagio, not tearing his name up. I don't think he calls Barack Obama. Barack Obama calls him Barry Soetoro.
Right.
There was a deal with another person that was about a year ago that's a radio personality that went to the building where Andy said that the jump room was at, and they asked some people he told them what floor it was on, and there's some people came out like on smoke break, and they were like, no, don't know nothing about it, and it was like just normal people, but, they don't mean anything. You look at Ventura, he said he was taken down in the basement, and there's a cafeteria lady, she's CIA. So, who knows, but I hold up to what Dolan said, there's really not any proof, and this is kind of it's just so weird, and they didn't bring in DeLong on this too, there's proof that I heard that he's getting letters from, Wright-Patterson generals and stuff like that, and then you see the Freemason symbols on his video on his guitar and amp and stuff like that. That I don't know that helps. It doesn't really with me, It's just.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
It's getting really.
I hear you.
It's getting real thick.
Well,
it's
it
getting
is
real thick, and
yeah, but Josh, and you know me, and you know how I deal with things. The only way to get through all of this is to continue to listen.
Oh,
well, you know, this community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Josh, and thank you for the phone call, my friend. And you bring up a really, really great point, and which is this: we cannot absolutely stop listening. We have to. We just have to listen. You know, and I don't know how else to present it to everybody. I mean, seriously. Just listen, learn. I remember I was given this advice when I was a kid, and that advice is this. There are too many talkers out there and not enough listeners. You need to listen. And that's really the truth. The people that are dangerous, the people that are really dangerous are the ones that never open their mouths. They just sit and absorb and are a sponge. Never, ever lose sight of that. Let's stay on the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, it's Tanner Sloan from Georgia.
Hey, Tanner Sloan from Georgia. What are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely.
Just a quick question. I've been very much, I guess, obsessed with Graham Hancock lately. And just to change the subject, he seems to be an advocate of evolution. And to me, like a very brilliant person as he is, if he's even heard of Lloyd Pye, he should not be advocating evolution. So what are your thoughts about that?
Man. Tanner, you know that's the most touchiest subject that you can bring up. I mean,
yes, sir, absolutely.
I mean, that's like bringing up who's better, Kobe or Michael Jordan. You know, all you're going to do is cause a fight, right? But see, and this is the no matter what you say, no matter what your position on evolution or creation or ET involvement or panspermia, whatever you bring up when it comes to this, you are going to find hundreds of thousands of people ganging up on you from the other side. It's like vegans, or it's like global warming, right? No matter what position you take, there's going to be the opposite. Now, so you have listened to Graham, and you're feeling he is Darwini-ish, right? Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and
yes,
you are inflamed, right? But
absolutely, after what Lloyd Pye did, of course.
I know, and I love Lloyd Pye, man. I love if Rita told you how much I listen to Lloyd Pye, right? You would lose your mind. So I understand where you're coming from here. And I quote Lloyd Pye a lot, and I miss that guy dearly. He is the one person that I didn't get a chance to interview. And you know, how much does that suck, right? I would love to, man, I would have worn Lloyd Pye out. He would have been on the show once a week. But anyway, I understand where you're coming from, but you also have to remember, I have been battling over the last 6 months email from the Darwin supporters. That I'm telling you, I get 5-10 emails a day arguing with me about this. And I don't get people supporting me, right? I get the people that take the time to write me are the ones that are angry and want to tell me how wrong I am and how unread I am, and I need to go and read. It's the Origin of Species, man. You need to go. No, I don't. I don't. I have my opinion. But listen, I've got to run here. We're at the end of the show. I've got like 30 seconds, Tanner. But I have listened to Graham's statements on certain things about the cultures before Göbekli Tepe, and it kind of freaks me out a little bit. But you know what? It's his opinion. And just maybe there's a little piece of Darwin and a little piece of creationist, and there's a little piece of religion, and there's a little piece of and there's, and it all adds up. The truth is, and this is the truth, Graham doesn't know, you don't know, I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody.
I think Lloyd Pride knew, but okay.
I'll talk to you, Tanner. Okay. Thank you for the phone call, my friend.
Yes, sir. Have a good night. Bye.
You too. He's absolutely right there. Lloyd Pye did know. There's no question about it. All right. Well, that concludes another episode of Fade to Black. Got to thank Richard Bleepin' Dolan. Great conversation tonight. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Shows produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Jonas, thank you, Dennis, thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar, Fady Badale, Webmaster, Drew, the Geek, Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. Tomorrow night, right here, Corey Good. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night, I want everybody to be safe. Göbekli Tepe.